Hey guys, I want to try something a little different from what I normally put out, so I'm going to do a bit of a bike review. I'm now riding my third Trek Remedy, so I thought I'd take some time to explain why I picked up the new 2020 Remedy 9.8 and why I'm so happy I did.
This turn? Oh, I can't make this turn. Oh, that way, huh?
The Remedy is an all-mountain bike that gives me the confidence to keep pushing my abilities. It can handle everything I've thrown at it so far.
It's big.
And I've never found myself wishing I was on anything other than this bike. Also, I should note that I'm no bike mechanic or pro rider, so the plan is to just give you my impressions on the bike and why I choose to ride the Trek Remedy.
Should I try that again?
I guess it starts back in 2015 when my Trek Slash was stolen.
Half enchilada party crew?
The plan was to just replace that bike with another Slash, but a friend suggested I test out his Remedy. I was a little hesitant because what I loved about the Slash was the confidence it gave me to smash downhill. But after testing the Remedy, I felt like it was almost equally as capable on the downhills as the Slash. I knew the Remedy would climb better, but I don't love climbing and typically only do it so I can come back down. And I live in Colorado, so there's a lot of that.
Oh, f***.
You said
Maybe I don't love climbing because I'm just not the best at it. I would chalk this up to rider error and not any fault of the bike. Anyway, what really surprised me was how much more playful the Remedy felt on flow trails. Smashing down pure chunk, the Slash will probably win every day. But I ride a mix of techie downhill, big long climbs, and super fun flow trails. So I made the switch to the Remedy.
Go left, go left, go left. Because there's a cool line right here.
Like I said, this is now my third Remedy. Every year, Trek tweaks the specs just enough to justify me wanting to upgrade. And it always surprises me that Trek can make some big changes to the bike while making sure it still feels like a Remedy. I mean, I hopped on this 2020 build and just immediately felt like I was riding a better version of the 2017 Remedy I had just come off of. It didn't take me really any time to get used to a new bike.
So, I don't know. This is not doable for me. This turn?
No, the next turn.
Oh, I can't make this turn. Oh. Oh, that way, huh?
That thing is slick right now.
Dude.
I've never attempted this section before, and I'm not really sure why I hopped on the bike. I think maybe it's because the Remedy gave me the confidence to at least give it a go.
Nope.
Again, I would chalk this up to rider error and not through any fault of the bike's design, and I'm just stoked that I had the confidence to at least hop on and try.
Well, that's closer than I've ever gotten.
So sometimes people ask me about the Remedy and what type of bike it feels like. Again, I'm no bike shop tech, but here are my thoughts on where in a typical lineup between a cross-country bike and a downhill bike, the Remedy lands.
That was sick.
In my opinion, this isn't an enduro bike, at least not anymore. I used to consider the Remedy an enduro bike, but as the enduro scene started really taking off and actual races started gaining traction, bike companies took notice. They started building bikes with 29-inch wheels that could smash straight through anything and do it faster than any other bike in their lineup.
To the right, and then left.
Trek built out the Slash in this way and tucked the Remedy in the trail bike category, allowing it to keep its 27.5-inch wheels and its playful character.
There's a section coming up here that I have a lot of trouble with.
But that's not to say that this bike can't smash through an ugly trail. I mean, look at it here. These rocks are brutal. There isn't a round rock on this trail. Everything is square-edged and just brutally mean. Over the past few years, my Remedy has gotten me down rides like the Whole Enchilada, obviously, Greens Creek on Monarch Crest, and Miners Creek in Breckenridge. This bike eats Keystone Bike Park laps for breakfast. Seriously, I work nearby and ride that park regularly, and I prefer their chunky downhill trails to their flow trails. But it can also send big jump laps through Trestle's Rainmaker and No Quarter. And if you aren't familiar with these trails, well, most of my rides are in Colorado or in Utah, and so having to go uphill for a long time is pretty much the norm. We go up, forever sometimes, just to come back down short and steep and rowdy trails.
So chunky, dude. It's about as mean as a trail gets.
No, it's not.
Well, I guess not really.
And I have never wished for a different bike on either the uphills or the downhills of any of my rides. Quick side note, my first few rides on the new Remedy were on an extra large. I'm 6'1" and just in between the two sizes, and a few Trek reps said that I might be more comfortable on an extra large.
That is the jump.
Even though I'd always historically been riding their 19.5-inch frame. They were wrong. You can see in my Trestle Bike Park video that I was just kind of launching jumps like a dead sailor, and I felt like that was because I didn't have control over the front end. You can also see in my video of the 409.5 in Crested Butte that I didn't have good control over my front end on the climbs, and I think it might have been part of the reason I washed out twice on the descent there. So now I'm on a large and I'm feeling way more comfortable. So I bought this bike and immediately swapped the Fox Performance grip fork for the Fox Factory Grip 2 fork. On top of that, I installed cush core and protected the frame with ride wrap. I'll get to that stuff later, but I felt like the 9.8 build was the best deal for the components. The extra $2,000 for the 9.9 just didn't add up to me. Maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think so.
I have never done this drop and I don't plan to do it. It's big. Yeah, I'm skipping that.
Speaking of the fork, this was one of the main reasons I decided to sell my 2017 for the 2020. In 2017, the Remedy was a 150 mil up front, and I wanted to swap it for a 160 mil fork. Then, in 2018, Trek announced the bike would come off the factory floor with a 160, and I was jealous. Another huge upgrade for me was the 170mm dropper post. I'm kinda tall, so I like a nice high seat for climbing, but when I want to go downhill, I want that seat way out of the way.
No, I like this one right here.
I hate feeling a seat there kissing my ass on a scary descent, so the 125mm dropper that came on my 2017 Remedy just wasn't doing it for me.
Love that!
So yeah, this 170mm dropper post just adds to the versatility of the bike in my mind. Trek also increased the effective seat tube angle on the newer bike to 74.2 degrees when the minnow link is switched to the low position, which is how I always ride this bike. And I think I can feel it. I feel like this bike climbs a little better than my 2017, despite the slacker head tube angle caused by the longer travel. And speaking of the bike's travel, Trek claims that the suspension has come far enough that they've been able to hard mount the shock to the frame, eliminating their full floater design. Instead, the 9.8 comes built with a Fox Performance Flow Evo, with their patented reactive design and a through shaft damper, which is interesting. I had always liked the full floater design, but maybe that was all marketing, because I honestly can't tell that it's no longer there.
Sick, dude.
Another thing that Trek has changed, but hasn't really affected the ride quality as far as I can tell, is the full carbon rear triangle. In 2017, both the main triangle and the seat stay were carbon, while the chainstay was aluminum for the 9.8. Now the bike is full carbon, and that even includes the wheels. These are the first carbon wheels I've ever ridden. Actually, I wasn't even sure if I was stoked on having carbon wheels. I mean, my aluminum wheels were full of dents and dings, and I worry that if I take hits like that to my carbon wheels, I'll be dealing with a full blowout miles from the trailhead. So, I installed cush core, and I really want to talk about it. So far I found that I'm riding about 3 to 4 psi lower than I was. It's not a lot lower, and I don't know if I'll drop it any further, but so far, I'm in love with the feeling cush core adds to the ride. My friend Scott also just installed cush core, as he's blown through a couple of Santa Cruz wheels, and I like the way he phrased it. He said, "I feel like my wheels are actually doing something." I know that sounds silly, but I get what he's saying. You can feel the cush core actively working, making the ride more supple and adding an additional level of suspension. Instead of your wheels just rolling you from point A to point B and hopefully keeping traction in between, they actually add to the performance of the bike.
Whew, came close to that rock there.
The way the wheels seem to dampen the descents while also helping me grip hard-edged rocks while I try to climb is making me a believer. Plus, just having the confidence that I'm not going to blow up a wheel way out in the middle of the desert is worth the price tag alone. Like I said, I installed cush core along with ride wrap, which really just protects your frame from dings and scratches, and the Fox Factory Grip 2 fork. I still have a lot of tinkering to do to hone the fork to my riding style, but that's what's so rad about this thing. You can adjust the high and low speed rebound as well as the high and low speed compression. I had to watch a few videos just to understand this, so I'm not going to dive into that here, but it's super customizable to your riding style.
I've never gotten that before! Yay!
I I've only tweaked it a bit from the suggested setup, but so far I'm noticing that a lot of the chatter from small successive hits is just gone, and my ride is smoother than I've ever experienced. At the same time, I feel like I'm able to launch small features and play around on the trail a lot more because I can adjust that low speed rebound. All that to say, I can tell the difference between this fork and the performance fork that came stock on the bike. Before actually riding the bike, I also thought I might switch the SRAM brakes for the Shimano 4-piston brakes, as I've always ridden Shimano.
Is that my fault?
I've tried SRAM Guidar brakes and I really hated them.
This used to be gnarly, or they redid that.
I felt like I couldn't get stopping power out of those brakes, no matter how hard I squeezed. So I wasn't excited to see that this year's Remedy came with the SRAMs. But a few rides in, and I think I've converted.
They redid all that for sure.
I'm really digging the modulation of the G2s. It no longer feels like I have an on-off switch for my brakes, but I also have full stopping power when I want it. They just feel more precise. As I continue to think about this, I realize I took a pretty big gamble with this bike. I was scared of the carbon wheels, I was not stoked on the SRAM brakes, and I thought I'd be cutting down the 820mm bars. I thought the 780mm bars on my 2017 were perfect. I'd ridden a friend's Orbea Rayon, which I think had 800mm bars, and I thought they felt too wide. But honestly, just sitting on this bike and rolling into my first trail ride, I knew this was the right call by Trek. I felt like I was pulling through my turns better and had the right leverage over my bike. I don't know what else to say about it, but these bars make the cockpit of this bike feel right.
That is a hole. Should I try that again?
I'm hoping I'm getting better as I continue to ride, but I can't help but think that this 2020 Remedy helped me get up some climbs I've not made before, and given me the confidence to descend some of the lines that I've historically walked.
Oh my God!
And generally, it keeps me safe while I make stupid decisions.
Yeah, I'm just gonna keep it going.
So yeah, in conclusion, no surprise, I love the 2020 Trek Remedy 9.8. Like I said, this all-mountain bike can handle whatever you throw at it. It has certainly given me the confidence to keep pushing my limits. Like this drop, one that I've historically walked, was no problem for the 2020 Remedy. I have to thank it for picking up where my skills drop off.
Oh, it was not pretty, but I did it.
Anyway, if you want to see what a Remedy can handle, subscribe to the channel. All of my videos so far have been on a Remedy, and I hope to make a lot more. Winter is coming, so the videos won't be as frequent for now, but come spring, I'm hoping to hop right back out on the trails and start making more content.
Woo!
So yeah, thanks for watching. I hope this video was somewhat helpful, but let me know what you think in the comments.
Dude. Oh, so sick. Oh, that was awesome.